Good morning, everybody, and welcome to CEO Chat. My name is Alcini.
I'm Joe Osamendi.
And Jan Stefanski, and your tagline is, you make fuzzy things clear.
Right.
Let's start with that. How do you make fuzzy things clear, and why is that important?
Well, a client gave me that, and the tagline, and the reason it's important, that there's a lot of confusion out there in terms of what you have to do and when you have to do it. And people are confused, and they don't take time for reflection. And what they need sometimes is just a structure to allow them to really reflect on what they're really doing, and that fuzziness goes away. I don't make it go away. The client makes it go away.
Right.
I just provide an environment that I can help them reflect on what's going on, and especially where they need to go.
Well, and so clients who are so caught up in their businesses that they don't really have time to think about their businesses.
That's part of it. They don't have time, and that's one of the things that goes on, I think, with most organizations. You're so focused on the right now. There's little time for reflection. And the time that's allowed for reflection really doesn't focus on how are we doing it, are we doing the right things, and where we want to go.
Do you think the size of an organization makes it more or less fuzzy?
Yeah, it's less fuzzy if you're an individual.
Okay.
If you're that individual down at the ballpark selling hot dogs, you do your own marketing, you do your own sales, you do your own delivery, you do your own accounting. It's a little bit easier. As soon as you get into a larger organization, and a larger organization might only be 100 people. I'm not talking multi-international. They still have the same problem.
Right.
But it's the idea of how can you start, instead of staying in your vertical, how can you start looking across, and how can you actually look at the whole system from the client's perspective, or customer, or patient, or whatever the word is that the organization uses. So it's really taking time to look at the whole thing and not just the vertical.
Okay.
So again, bigger, more complex,
Right.
smaller, same issues, but maybe less complex.
And how big are your clients typically? I mean, what size company do you typically work with?
I just was down in Florida for 2 days with a multi-billion-dollar company, but you don't work with a multi-billion-dollar company. You work with an organization, a department, and it's smaller.
Yeah.
And it could be one person.
Well, see, it's so refreshing to hear you say that, because most people think corporations are kind of monolithic things that you work with. But the reality is confusion inside of a company exists in pockets.
Right.
You can clear that confusion up pocket by pocket. You don't have to drain the whole swamp.
Correct. And then pockets have to talk to pockets.
Yeah.
And that creates the fuzziness again. So you got the verticals that people have to get clear on, and you have the horizontals that people have to get clear on.
Taking people out of their silos and making them interconnect is what you do.
Right. Well, sometimes it's in their silos, but and a lot of times it's interconnected. So they call it cross-functional. That's a nice buzzword that says it's big.
It is, and that's...
And all of a sudden, what do you have? In any organization, you have marketing. Who are they fighting with? Maybe manufacturing. Who's manufacturing fighting with? R&D. Who's R&D fighting with? What everybody fights with, IT.
Yeah, let's face
So
it.
it's a dynamic that everyone thinks that there's this interplay, and instead of leveraging it to help, again, to help the end customer, all of a sudden there's this interplay that's impacting the dynamic of the organization, that the end customer is not getting delivered the product, the service, the quality, the cost that they're looking for.
Oh.
And that came in the 70s, in the 90s with business process reengineering, starting to look at the process. In other words, you're a customer, I'm a customer. What do you want? You want what you want, the quality you want it, when you want it, and the price you want it.
Right.
And there is nothing else. So how do we make that happen as an organization?
No.
When you go to an organization, what's your typical time frame for working with that organization?
I do project work, and I don't go somewhere. Like when I worked for a large consulting firm, I'd be there 40 hours a week, 50 hours a week for weeks, months on time. It depends. Answering your question, it could be I sit down with a person for an hour, and I say, you don't need me, you know where you're going, go ahead. Then you could sit down for a period of time and maybe work. I guess my longest engagement was 11 years, but it was a little work, 3 years later, called you back,
a little bit more,
work.
right.
So it's very project. So I would tell you, it really depends on what the client needs. And I'm not there to, the type of work I do, you're working with it's a non-annuity. I don't come back and do the same thing every month, every quarter, every year. It's they got an issue that they can't resolve. So once you teach them how to resolve it, they don't need you anymore. And that's good, because I'm big on knowledge transfer. I can teach you how to do it. Well, Jan, doesn't that ruin your business? No, my business model is great because you're going to have other problems.
Right.
There's not one problem in an organization. Once you fix it, it's fixed for life. So by fixing the problem that the organization has, I build up trust. And then all of a sudden they say, well, can you do this? And maybe I can. And if I can, I say, I can refer someone in that I think can help you. And that's the way I work.
Okay.
But again, it's easier to say that when you're an independent consultant and you're not trying to have salaries for 100,000 people.
Right,
Great.
exactly.
So for a small or medium-sized business, it could be the CEO of the, or the founder of the company. For a larger, let's say, mid-sized to that kind of business, it could be senior vice president or department head.
Yeah, 'cause the CEO usually looks at the whole thing.
Uh-huh.
But he or she doesn't really do anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's got to drop down to the operational, functional heads or whatever. And then from the functional heads, it really drops down to the teams.
Yeah, right.
The teams, I used the phrase, I was chatting with you earlier. The CEO and others have to look at where the rubber meets the sky. They got to work with the outside world. Well, eventually it has to go down where the rubber meets the road, where the boots are on the ground. So if you don't do it kind of that vertical and make sure they're in alignment, then it's not going to run. The engine's not going to run. So when you
Right.
have a small company, one person, 2 or 3 people, it's easy to, that's like this. When you have a
Right.
bigger company, it's like that. That's where the problem is.
Well,
Some people would call it the challenge or the opportunity.
well, and the way you're describing it, I mean, you mentioned you feel like a project manager, except it's really more project leadership than project management. It's not just about tracking activity.
Right, good yeah, phraseology. I'm an assistant to the people. I provide counsel, I provide some structure, I provide processes. They solve their own problem. They own the problem. I'm there to help. I'm not a consultant that comes in and writes a report and hands it to you. I'll work with you, but it's your problem, it's your opportunity, but it's also your success. So when I leave, it's like the Lone Ranger in the old days. The town people would say, who was that masked man? And they rode out, but they were very happy.
Yeah, that's right. They were just happy. Yeah.
And that's my goal, is to make sure that I solve the issue or opportunity that they ask me to come in on. But when I leave, they don't need me to come back again for that problem or opportunity.
For that problem, anyway, because that's taken care of. And, you know, it's every consultant's dream, really, to hear that compliment that a customer will give them. We're not exactly sure what it is you do or even how you do it, but we know that we're better because you were here.
Right, and that's and the biggest compliment well, there's 2 levels. Big compliment. One is I get re-engaged. The second, which might be they refer me to somebody else, because a referral is you are out there making that referral. It's you. So if this person doesn't deliver on what you need, it's an impact on you. So I would say that's how I get rewarded. And I guess the third reward is someone really comes back to me years later and says, you know, you taught me something that I've used, and you know, it still makes me successful.
And it's still, I'm still using it. It's
Yeah.
still working for me. So, okay then. So, let's see. Jan Stefanski is a logical guy, so you're able to take something that's complex and break it down into little pieces, which often is the solution, which is where you find the solution. But you're also a people-oriented person. You're a mentor.
Right, I coach, I mentor.
So what do you use more, people skills or logic?
It depends.
Okay.
I can never use the logic. My background is I have a physics degree and an MBA in finance.
Okay.
I took them because they both begin with F. I thought that was the smart thing. So I see the technical part, I see the people part, and in most okay, I'll share this with you.
Sure.
When I deal with, let's say, for-profit businesses, I give them a little picture of an iceberg. And on the iceberg, it has success, it's return on investment, ba-bam, you know.
Right.
On the bottom, it's under the water, it's all the people things that happen. So at the top's how you run a business and how you work with the people.
The tiny part is the top,
Yeah, yeah.
and the big
When
the
I
big
go to the
thing is-
nonprofits, I flip the iceberg around.
Oh, really? Huh.
Because they're dealing with people, they're mission driven, they're dealing with people. What they don't deal with are the business. how
Or
to
the
run a
business aspects of it, right?
So you need both, but it's where you put your focus depends on the situation.
Yeah, well, it's important. I'm glad you brought that out because your background, your client base includes for-profit and not-for-profit companies.
And religious organizations and academics and the government.
Oh, that's great. That's
Because everybody, as soon as you're an organization, the areas that I deal with, you have those challenges.
well, and I want to explore a little bit more too after the break. We have to take a break. When we come back from the break, though, we'll talk about the other kinds of companies that you work with. I know it's service providers, manufacturing companies. Most important thing we can do is to connect you with people out there who may have the kind of fuzziness problem that you're so good at solving. So we'll be right back with more CEO Chat and Jan Stefanski after these messages.
Don't go away.
Thank you. Welcome back to CEO Chat. And once again, the Dunkies commercial has made me hungry.
Absolutely.
It's Dunkies Steaks. I don't know if you've ever had one.
They're delicious.
Next time you're in the area, we'll go to
Okay,
Camden,
okay.
and I can
Right.
just tell you,
Why not?
you look pretty trim, and this will change all
Well, I
that.
have antelope and stuff. Donkey sounds
you-
pretty tasty.
They're round, too.
Oh, it's amazing. Okay, Jan. So before the break, we were talking about the kinds of customers that you have, and maybe you can sort of outline. I know it's service providers. It's talk a little bit about the kinds of clients you've worked with.
Well, I've been lucky in my career where I started out maybe working more for, it started out in the pharmaceutical space, and that was hot. And they needed a lot of help in terms of process. They needed a lot of in terms of coaching. So then it moves to other companies, because I don't, hate to say it in a CEO chat, I don't do any marketing. Mine is really all word of mouth. So someone will introduce me to somebody else, and then I'll start working in that environment. So it could be in a nonprofit world. The nonprofit world is much different from the for-profit world. And the reason is they're mission-driven. And they have challenges that the for-profit world can't imagine. They have challenges with the government regulations, which are very rigid on them. They have challenges with revenue streams and things like that.
Oh, really? Uh-huh.
So what happens is it could be an organization that says all of a sudden, you know, we have problems with a team meeting. Our meetings stink. And that's because they don't do any basic meeting management. They don't do the planning. They don't facilitate the meetings. They don't know how to do it. And in most cases, it's not that the people, they're aware of it, but their awareness, they think, is the solution as opposed to trying to do something with it.
Right.
So it could be teams, the team's not getting along. Well, what's that mean? Well, they don't know how to really talk to each other. So you have to give them some basic instruction. And the way I view the world, and I was taught this by a colleague, it's like a Z, and I got to do the Z this way, like Zorro. And awareness of something leads to possibilities. But it's only experience and doing it and being supported, having mentors, coaches, thinking about it, keeping it on the table in front of you. That's when you internalize it. And once you internalize it, you believe it and you use it. So it can be anything from strategic planning to mission statement development, work process design, teams to make it happen, and then how do you keep it sustainable? So as you're talking about if, people in the audience, what specific areas they're looking at, it's everyone runs their company in the same big model.
Right.
And so you could be having trouble in strategy. You could be having trouble in how one organization talks to another organization. You could have an individual, a lot of times an individual contributor in a high-tech world. Or when I say high-tech, it could be IT, it could be engineering, it could be medical. And when it's degree-oriented, they might not have the people skills because they were never exposed to it. It's not that they're not people.
They've never
been exposed to it. So they say, it's like the old Steve Urkel. Did I say that? Yeah, you did say it, but it's not. So they learn like the how to say things, not the what to say.
Got it.
So that's the mix, Al.
Okay. So there are not-for-profits out there then that might be having traction problems where they just feel as though they're not making the kind of progress they need to make. They're caught up in their day-to-day. They're doing the same things over and over again because they always have done them the way they do them. And you as a consultant would go in, observe, and then it sounds to me like you focus on some of the micro-behavior fundamentals that make a difference in the way an organization operates.
Right. That would be the case. In some cases, It's the macro and the micro. And I use a cartoon when I'm explaining this to people. It's two trophy cases. And the first trophy case, let me see if I'm doing this right. The first trophy case has strategic planning, has all the ribbons, it has all the cups. And you go to the next one, and the shelves are broken and cobbled. It's the execution one.
Sure, right.
And so a lot of times the execution is something very tiny that they could change, the person could change.
Right.
It's the what or the how, and all of a sudden it makes a difference. In other cases, they need to look at their strategy, what's their overall strategy, and how does that play out to all the departments.
Right.
So I could say it's a little bit of, once again, it depends. What you love to say is you love to come in and say, well, you know, you only have to fix this one thing and magically it'll all happen. But in anybody who knows anything about system work, once you fix, a system is interdependent and it has no external. Once you fix something, you can raise the system, but all of a sudden something else will be lowered. So then you have to look at that.
Right.
Have you worked with family-owned organizations?
To a point. Family-owned organizations are a whole different breed of cat.
Okay.
So with them, it would be a little bit more of probably the interpersonal skills. That, and then you all of a sudden you do have that family dynamic.
Right.
And I think you really have to really understand more the family dynamic concept of almost being a therapist.
Right.
Right, okay.
Than the technical or the people part of running the business. Because
Yeah.
you got that hierarchy, and I've watched it over and over, that the hierarchy drives the business climate. And if that hierarchy decides to keep whatever they have, you're not going to change that business climate at all.
Well, the exciting thing about listening to you as you're talking is that a big problem all businesses have, maybe especially not-for-profit, are that shift that they need to make every now and then from planning to actually executing. And getting people to that point where they feel they need to move forward is a big part of what you do.
Yes, I would say they're good at the operations.
Okay.
It's a little bit of a flip way. They're good at operations, but they're not good at looking at the bigger picture and the interconnections.
Welcome back to CEO Chat. My name is Alcini,
Joe Osmond.
and we're reconnecting with Jan Stefanski. Terrific guest. And as we were talking at the earlier part of the program and when we went into the break, we're talking about the importance of getting an organization to shift from tracking activity, meaning move from how busy they are, to moving into a state where they're actually accomplishing something.
Right.
That's a core competency that you have.
Well, yeah, I think what people do is most people want to know what to do and they want to do their job. And they get very busy doing their job. But all of a sudden there's an interruption. It's kind of called the client or a shift in the. So what they have to do is they have to do things differently.
Right.
Most people don't like to come up and start thinking about that, what the new process is going to be and how it's done, because there's too much ambiguity in it. So what they do is they just keep working their area. In a lot of cases, they're not skilled in learning how to go horizontal and talking to you and saying, well, what is it that you really need from me, or what I need from someone else? And so what happens is you find out that all of a sudden they keep saying, well, I'm working really hard. But they're working on things that it's not helping the overall
That don't make a
system.
difference.
That's right. It doesn't make a difference. And they're good people working at the thing.
Sure.
And that's where management has to come in and say, no, wait a second. This is what we're going to prioritize on. This is what we're going to do, and this is how it's going to be done.
Right.
But management doesn't know how
Often
to do
doesn't know exactly how to
because
do that.
and one of the big things that happened in 2008 with the Great Recession, we lost about 4 or 5 years, whatever training we did for managers and supervisors, we lost that. So now you have the millennials coming in, they're going to be 50%, or maybe they're close to 50% of the workforce. They're being trained by people. Every management layer lost about, because training died. People were trying to survive, and I get that.
Right.
So now you have people that are trying to help the organization, and they're really not doing it very well because they're not trained in it.
Yeah, right.
So I believe in motivation and ability. And I don't care what level you're at, you need some level of skill training.
Well,
Whatever level you're at.
wherever
because
that
you haven't
is.
experienced it yet.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, even if the skill training isn't particularly effective, the idea that the company is making an investment in you is motivating too.
well, yeah, for the individuals, what I'm hearing now, and I think it's true, and I think it was even true when I started out in business, but we didn't verbalize it, was that you want to do something that's meaningful. You want to do something that you can bring your whole self to the place.
Okay.
And that wasn't the case when I was going through my career. It was, you're going to spend your time, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and maybe you'll grow, and here's the job ladder. And that whole world's over.
That's all over with.
It's definitely over. And so what we're trying to do when I work with people in terms of talent management and talent recruiting, you got to understand what people are really looking for now. And a lot of the idea of matching your culture of your company and your brand is very real. It's very active right now, and organizations offer that type of service of making sure that your external brand, what you're saying, and your internal culture map up. And that way, once again, you're getting the stars aligned that they're actually working best for their client, and they're working best for themselves.
Once they're aligned like that, everybody becomes more engaged in the business.
Yeah,
that
well, think
just
about it.
creates
Think about when you're in the zone.
Yeah.
You're feeling good because you're getting what you need. You're giving what people are expecting.
Right.
You feel good about yourself. You're not working on stupid projects and things like that.
Yeah,
and I think that's what people are always look for, and now people are looking for that more and more. Now that we're in a full economy type of situation, people are going to be more mobile again. If they don't get it here, they're going to get it somewhere else.
Oh, that's great.
And they say the millennials are more mobile, and I think they are, because they know what they want, and they want it when they want it, which makes it interesting. But the idea, if they don't get it, they move.
Oh, that's it. They'll just move, especially in an economy where the jobs are perking, and that percolation means you can move. You lose talent that way. So now, listening to you talk, there are people out there who run not-for-profits, who run departments or entire for-profit companies. They might feel as though they have a traction problem. They might feel as though they're having difficulty moving forward. They can retain you, and you can help them with their talent acquisition strategy and talent management strategy. It sounds like you do change management.
Well, yeah, that's, if I can net it out.
Sure.
When people say to me, what do you do? And I say, well, I respond to my clients' SOS. And they say, what's that mean? I said, well, the first S is they need a strategy. And that's kind of, that's the Greek word for language of the generals. They need a strategy. But before you have a strategy, you fundamentally have to have a mission, you have to have a vision, you have to have values. Right? A lot of people poo-poo that, but that's what your strategy is based on, your client base. So that's the first S. The second, the O in operations is, well, how do you do it? Well, if I have a strategy, and that's where I was talking about those two trophy, you have a strategy, everybody thinks it's going to happen.
Right.
And I say to people, the famous Descartes, who they said started the Industrial Revolution, he had a famous quote, and I asked people, how's your Latin, Joe? How is your Latin?
Semper ubi sub ubi.
Oh, there you go. See, now he's in. Well, Descartes said, cogito ergo sum, which meant I think, therefore I am. So he
Right.
took it away from God and he made it nature, and that's the Industrial Revolution. Well, what a lot of people do when they have the strategy, they say, cogito ergo est, which means I think, therefore it is.
It is, right.
Well, that's not the way it works. The way it works is you got to take it down, and you got to develop work plans.
Right.
And you got to have teams that can deliver on those work plans, and those teams need some level of coaching.
Right.
So these are all the things I provide, and that's why I'm a generalist, and I'm proud of it.
Good.
And so you get to the point, okay, now we have it. That's the O of SOS.
Sure.
And the last one is sustainability. Well, how do you sustain something? Well, you sustain something by creating a culture that's going to do the things that you want to do on a constant basis. And in team development, that would be the team norms and things that are going to follow. So there are the areas. So in any organization, whether it's for-profit, nonprofit, government, religious, or academic, where are you in that you're stuck? And that's where I help.
And that's where you go in.
And that
that's where
sounds
you step
funny
in.
that, well, he can do it all. Well, no, the reality is I've been exposed to it all.
Yeah.
And I think nowadays, and I tell my clients, if you're stuck at something, you don't have to be an expert in it. You just have to meet minimal requirements
Right.
to get to the next level.
Oh, that's cool.
So I hope that helps.
Oh, it definitely does. And Janus Consulting, named after a Roman god.
Roman god of beginnings and endings. He doesn't have a Greek equivalent, and he was his temple was only open during war.
Okay.
And sometimes you'll see at Janus Investments, they have the old man and the young man facing the front. So it's beginnings and endings.
Okay, great. Okay, we're at that part of our program, wrapping it up, where you get to talk right into the camera and tell everybody how to reach you. I know it's janusconsulting.com.
Yeah, it's janusconsulting.com, and the easiest way is jan@janusconsulting.com, or you can call me at 610-996-1809.
You're based in southeastern Pennsylvania, but you've got wisdom that transcends borders. So anywhere in the
Yeah,
world,
it's just
people
down
can call you.
this, what I do, what makes it so much fun is every organization has these challenges.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't matter about your industry, it's whatever your organization now, whatever size you are. So if I can help, please give me a call, and if I can't help, maybe I know someone who can help you.
Yeah. What a pleasure meeting and talking
Thank
to you,
you.
Jan.
Thank you, enjoyed it. Thank you
Everybody,
very much.
Jan Stefanski, smart, very wise guy, lots of experience, Coopers and Lybrand, I think you said, and we worked for the
IBM.
same big computer manufacturer for a while.
Very wise guy, not wise guy.
Yeah, well,
Very
let's
wise
watch that.
person, very intelligent
We're in
person.
Philly, so we got to watch that.
Definitely the kind of guy you want to get to know if you have a traction problem, want to try to find a way to move forward. Thank you all for joining us today on CEO Chat. What was my name again?
Helsinki.
And you're Joe Asmendi. It's a pleasure. And great guest, Jan Stefanski.
Thanks a lot.
We'll see you again in a half an hour for another CEO Chat.
See you in a few minutes.
Thanks very much.